Are you an occupational therapist? Are you curious about how nature impacts emotional regulation? My name's Bronwyn Painter. I'm the Nature OT in Adelaide, South Australia, and I help occupational therapists in all areas of practice include more nature in their lives and their work. In this video, I'm going to share some of the evidence about the relationship between nature and emotional regulation. I'm going to start by saying that I am a fan of what I call holism. The concept that all emotion is part of being human, part of the human experience, that the more we can notice, understand, connect with and accept our whole range of emotion without going down the rabbit hole of applying judgment to certain emotions. The more whole we are, the better we are, the more in touch with ourselves we are. I'm not a fan of labelling emotions as positive or negative. I think that can, really actually create trauma. And so that's what I mean by the concept of holism, that all emotion is part of the whole experience of being human. Notwithstanding the fact that as OTs, we understand that the emotional experience can really impact our ability to function and navigate our everyday. And so when we have clients for whom their experience of emotion is really impacting their ability to do what they need to do and have to do and want to do, then we do want to help, and perhaps this applies to you as well. There are so many benefits in being able to kind of level out our emotional experience at times. Not to never experience the highs and lows, because that's not human, but when we need to function through our everyday, then nature really can be a really helpful intervention to improve and reduce kind of emotional reactivity. So this video is about sharing some of the evidence about how connecting with and being in nature actually impacts our emotion. So the evidence tells us that spending time in nature is associated with improved mood. It's associated with reducing anxiety, reducing depression, reducing rumination, all those kind of negative self-judgment thoughts. It is associated with reducing emotional reactivity, being less teary, being less, having fewer emotional kind of outbursts. Being in nature is also associated with some really great improvements in mood and emotional experience. So things like increased sense of vitality, an increased sense of just being alive. And maybe you experience this yourself, but when you're working with clients who, life just feels really hard and it's kind of, dragging yourself through day after day after day. The evidence tells us about meaningful experiences in nature can actually really connect people again with a sense of being alive. It is associated also with increased sense of self-reported well-being. So people feel better and function better in nature and after connection with nature, after experiences with nature. So it's not just the time in nature, there is carryover effect from that. Being in nature is also naturally engaging. So, when you or your clients are just like, I just do not feel like doing anything, it can be really interesting how taking an OT session or, a therapy session outside, how naturally engaging nature is. It engages people's curiosity, engages their sense of play sometimes, or just provides a whole range of different sensory inputs. So even if people don't want to be physically active, there is so much happening for them by being outside in nature. So just quickly, I'm just going to touch on, there's a number of reasons why these effects occur in nature. And so the main theories that are talked about in the evidence are the stress reduction theory, which is referenced to Roger Ulrich. There's the attention restoration theory, which is Kaplan and Kaplan, which talks about differing sort of cognitive attention that's required in nature and how it restores our higher executive level functions. There's the theory of biophilia, which is humans are innately attracted to nature, and it's part of our evolution. And then there's evidence about the role of our immune system in perhaps modulating all of these effects of nature. But for me, the simplest explanation is that being in nature calms down our sympathetic nervous system, our fight, flight, fright, and, oh no, I knew I'd get that wrong, fight, flight, freeze and fawn response. So being in nature calms our sympathetic nervous system, and that, you know, in its simplest explanation, is what results in many of the beneficial effects. And we know as OTs that, you know, a calmer, less reactive sympathetic nervous system pretty much helps everything function better. So in summary then, if you have clients, or perhaps this applies to you, who could benefit from improved mood and improved emotional regulation, then my question to you is, what are you thinking about? What are your ideas, or what are you already doing to connect people with nature in your practice as an OT? I'd love to hear.